from the year 500 to 1000, depending on your perspective, this is either known as the Age of Faith, or if you're a secular humanist, or Steve Witten, it's the Dark Ages. I'm not saying Steve is a secular humanist. How can the Dark Ages and the Age of Faith be the same time period? Yeah,
There was no Bible, for all intents and purposes.
well, sure there was a Bible.
Yeah. No one could read it except people who wrote Latin. And the church
That's
kept
true. We
restraining
went
all
from a
of it.
place of even women and slaves being educated in the Roman Empire to only monks or people in the church and a few select nobility could afford to be educated. Even Charlemagne the Great was illiterate. He could write his name, but he had to have scribes come in and do any correspondence. So interesting. But once again, why focus on the temporal mundane when you can be in prayer, meditation, singing hymns? That's where the real payoff is. That's where the real eternal abiding city is, in those non-physical tangibles. Because it was an age of faith, it was also an age of superstition. There was like a demon behind every bush or an angel behind every doorpost. There is no coincidence. Everything has to do with this like Christian view of you reap what you sow, or God bring you trials, or maybe you're righteous and Satan's trying to knock you off your ladder, right? So you have all this sort of things going on. Secular humanists, of course, are going to say, look, we go from empire, cosmopolitan, to this feudal, provincial mindset where people don't even know what's going on in the next valley over. We have this huge loss of knowledge and information. There's virtually no achievements in medicine, architecture, metallurgy, crops, nothing. It's just gone into this like stasis. It's almost, and I'm not trying to pick on Hindus either, but you kind of saw the same sort of thing when this idea that this world is Maya or illusion kind of takes hold in India. India had the printing press. They had all sorts of achievements in mathematics and philosophy and agriculture and medicine. But once they went into this world is pure illusion and doesn't matter, well, then why waste your time? You want to be focusing on opening your third eye and finding that self within and merging with the one, not on finding a better way to construct architecture or build warfare. And so this is what happened also in Europe at this time period, and why it's called the Dark Ages by secular humanists. But if you're Roman Catholic, this was the golden age because the Catholic Church reigned supreme. They owned more property than anyone else in Europe. They could break kings, bring them to their knees to conform them into the will of God. They could excommunicate people, which meant all of their subjects did not have to obey them anymore. They had a lot of power and wealth. So once again, it's a perspectival piece. Last thing I want to mention about Augustine in this part is he's the one who really kind of got rolling with this idea of original sin. What's original sin?
Adam and Eve.
But what's the original sin?
Being born.
Mm-mm. Well,
I mean, you're born into sin, so they say.
you're correct. That is exactly what he meant. I was ahead of myself in my thinking. It means you are born already alienated from God in sin. Now, he didn't invent this idea. The Apostle Paul tells us you're born dead in your trespasses and sin. That's pretty alienated, right? Death means disconnected. Not non-existence, but disconnected. And so he is going with this thought that because Adam and Eve fell and sin entered into the world, and Paul tells us as well, all humanity was in Adam, including Eve. She was taken from the man. And I think I mentioned this before, if not, I'm going to say it again. God does not see the way humans see. When he saw that first apple tree in the garden, he could see every apple tree that would come from every seed of every apple on that tree, and every tree that would come from every seed of those apples, etc., etc., all the way down. Same thing. When God saw Adam, he was not just seeing Adam, he was seeing each and every one of you that was in Adam at that time. You had not yet been physically manifested, but you were contained within Adam. And so when Adam fell, all humanity fell. This is part of why, and in this class you're going to see it becomes a big deal, why a historical Adam becomes so important. Because if there is no historical Adam, then there is no original sin, which means there is no need for this reconciliation to God. It makes the whole New Testament just seem like they're making stuff up, right? Or they're just basing it off of this ancient Hebrew mythology. If we all didn't die in Adam, then we're probably not all made alive in Christ either, right? Because that's the counter movement. Christ is the new Adam, the one that did not fall, the one that did not disobey God, and it is in him we have life. And those in Christ are no longer sons of Adam, they are sons of God. Fascinating. But that's why historical Adam, age of the earth, not so much. Historical Adam and Eve, way bigger issue. I mean, when we get to the second part of the class, we'll talk about dating techniques and all that. And it is important, but not as important as a historical Adam.